Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to me. You see, 15 years ago, when I still lived in England, I was a fresh-faced, debonair stereotype of a man with a degree in English language, linguistics and creative writing, but that part isn't important right now. I wore suits and ties and occasionally looked like I belonged in the 70s. And in 2008, when it became clear that I would be leaving England for America, a lot of my English loved ones, plus Uncle Toby, said, when you move there, don't become all American and forget your roots. You know, stick to being quintessentially English. Americans love that anyway. And I was like, of course I'll do that. Why would I want to change? But here's the thing. When you live in a country long enough, you simply change by osmosis. In other words, sorry family, without realizing it, I've accidentally turned into a Midwestern American man. Actually, let me rephrase that. I've turned into what you might get if somebody drew a Midwestern man from memory. In other words, you might call me a sort of British Midwestern hybrid. You know, I'm kind of like those replicated English pubs that you see dotted around the Midwest and elsewhere. Essentially, they feel quite American, but they have an inexplicable amount of Winston Churchill pictures. Anyway, without further ado, here are 7 ways that I've gradually become more Midwestern, with the very important caveat that with some of these you could substitute the word Midwestern for American. It's just that I happen to live in the Midwest and these are my influences, so shut it. And a quick reminder that more than 500,000 people are subscribed to this channel, so if that's not you, do that now. Number 1, the beard. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that English men don't have beards. How else would you explain Brian Blessed? How do you explain Brian Blessed? I've no idea how you explain Brian Blessed. I'm just thankful for Brian Blessed. But in the Midwest, it can often seem among men that beards are a way of life. Now, I don't really make beards into my whole personality. That would take too much effort. But for the majority of the time that I lived in England, I was a clean-shaven man with a face so smooth, it could talk its way out of any library fine. But after moving here, it was through a combination of sort of laziness and an effort to stay warm in the winter that this just happened, and there was no going back. It got to the point where I even invested in a beard trimmer, which is sort of like a lawnmower for facial care. And ironically, I don't yet have a lawnmower, which as a homeowner is probably more important. But a good beard says, yes, I'm Midwestern. I don't mind the outside and I will eat a sandwich with too much sauce on it and regret it heavily. Entry number 2, flannel. And for my British viewers, I'm not referring to the thing that you wash your body with in the shower. Here, that's often known as a washcloth. I'm referring to the material, specifically as it pertains to clothing. Because specifically in fall and winter, you'll see Midwesterners and other Americans flanneling up in flannel hats and flannel shirts and flannel coats and flannel underwear. That's just me, isn't it? And you might be thinking, Lawrence, I don't see any of those on you right now. In fact, with your polka dot shirt, you still look like an eccentric Englishman. And to an extent, this is true. I don't have any of those things on me. What I do have is a pair of flannel pants. Specifically, a pair of flannel pajama pants, which was bought for me by an American relative at Christmas. Remember, I was drawn from memory. I don't suppose you see too many Midwesterners wearing these out in public, except at Walmart. But occasionally, I do wear them out, especially when I'm behind on laundry, which I am right now. And you know what? I like it, right? It says, he is definitely almost Midwestern. Number 3, baseball caps. That went on perfectly in rehearsal. Now, it's true, of course, people will occasionally wear baseball caps in England, but I would say from memory and from everything I've read, they are still considerably less common there. And the only time that I personally wore baseball caps when I lived back there was when I was a child. I had a bright orange one that said Alton Towers. But here, it's very common to see people of all ages wearing baseball caps. And that makes sense because obviously it was in America that the baseball cap originated. And while it might not look debonair like a fedora, something that I tried to wear when I first moved to America with no success, I wear it for 2 reasons. Number 1, it keeps the sun out of my eyes when I take the dog for a walk. And number 2, I'm a filmmaker now, and all of the great American filmmakers always wear baseball caps. Except mine doesn't say E.T. on it. It says, quite appropriately to this video, Chicago's First Lady. That's in reference to a boat, not me. And I suppose a third reason is that, as far as I know, nobody around here judges me for wearing this. Do they? What have they been saying? Well, they can absolutely And of course, there would be no baseball cap without the sport from which they're derived. Because here's the thing, Midwesterners love their baseball, don't they? And I know what you're thinking. Woo, Lawrence, you admitted to us the other day that you don't know the first thing about baseball. You know, you say you're a Cubs fan, but the only reason that happened is you moved to Chicago at the time they won the World Series. You, Lawrence, are a bandwagon supporter, and it's true. I support bandwagons. What could be more American than that? To be a true Cubs supporter, you need to have at least worn the t-shirt, and to that I say, screw your button shirts, because this year we're bringing home the World Series again. Is there any chance of that? I don't know how we're doing, but there could be. Yeah, I bought this at the time to show my appreciation for those lads. My wife bought it, but still, it's all in the family. We also went to a baseball game with Sean and Tekka last year. I even once went in the freezing cold, admittedly only because I got free tickets from work. So, you know, I'm there for life, even if it takes that long to win another World Series. It probably will. It definitely will. Number 5. One thing that you may have noticed about me that says, Lawrence, you lied, you're not Midwestern at all, is the way that I speak. Somehow, even though I've picked up many Midwestern tendencies, my good old English brogue remains. And I don't really know why that is. I do. It was useful for getting jobs. But that doesn't mean there aren't one or two Midwestern phrases that I haven't picked up, which that's a triple negative. So do with that what you will. And one of the words that I picked up, I did so ironically in the workplace, and that word is ope. It's a Midwestern stereotype that I've spoken about before, but if you're new to my channel, it goes something like this. Two Midwesterners are walking down a corridor and suddenly, oh, we don't know which way to go, ope, you know, and they bump it. I'm very close to the camera, sorry about that. Basically, they use this word ope as a sort of pseudo-apology, right? And I think in that same situation back in England, I would have said something like, oopsie daisies, right? And now that I've said that out loud, I realise how silly it sounds. And that's probably why I replaced it with ope. I kid you not, I even used it this morning when I was putting cheese spread on my toast and a piece flicked off. I'm not sure who I was apologising to, but it spontaneously came out of me. By that I mean the word, not the cheese spread. Although now that we've reached entry number 6, perhaps the idea of cheese just squirting out of the pores in my skin isn't so unfathomable after all. Because since I've moved here, and this is no joke, I think I've tripled my cheese intake. Because Midwesterners put cheese on everything. You know, obviously Chicago deep dish pizza, cheesy fries, cheese curds, mac and cheese, cheeseburgers, cheese dip, cheesy casseroles. I'm running out of thumbs. You know, occasionally I have to make sure to read the back of the shampoo bottle just in case, because I don't want to repeat the dairy hair incident of 2012. So I eat a lot of cheese, and for those of you that have written in the comments over the last year or so, Lawrence, why have you given up added sugar? It's the only thing I can do to maintain my weight, because I am now addicted to cheese, and I blame Wisconsin. And number 6, 7, the last one, I have become a little bit obsessed with kitschy Midwestern landmarks. It all started innocently enough with the Wizard of Oz statues right here in Chicago, but then we drove down the Illinois portion of Route 66 and realized things like this are everywhere. Got any Dick Tracy fans in the house? Well, I saw Dick hanging out in Naperville. We really should have reworded that. But my favorite is a guy who just keeps showing up again and again and again, and that's fellow beard man and top hat influencer Abraham Lincoln. Wherever I go, he goes. It's like I'm his vice president. And there'll be people saying, yeah, but he's not Midwestern. He was born in Kentucky. And to that I say, good, that means he can join my little hybrid gang. Born somewhere else but spent a lot of time in the Midwest. There are hundreds of statues of Abe, and at this point it feels like I've hung out with about half of them. And all this just from a supporting role in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's got to the point where I even wear socks with his face on. And long-time fans of my videos and observant viewers of this one will have noticed that I even got the t-shirt. Now you might be thinking, due to the red glasses, that this is somehow a Lost in the Pond product. It isn't. This was honestly in the Lincoln Museum in Springfield, and I knew I had to have it. Of course, if you're interested, this is a Lost in the Pond product which I designed myself. If you haven't yet clicked the link in my description to visit Pondland, do that now. And those are just some of the ways that I've irreversibly changed since moving to America's Midwest. Thank you for watching. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that I don't have to. Please don't let your Lost in the Pond binge session end here, and watch this video next. Finally, a big thank you to my patrons with whom I discuss these kind of things on my weekly secret live streams. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so today at patreon.com/LostInThePond. Until the next video, goodbye.